It's Monday, the 25th of October 2021. Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business Headlines, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Morning, Michael.
5 stories in 5 minutes. Here we go. Story number 1, we are heading into one of the most important weeks from an economic perspective. Inflation figures on Wednesday, the beginning of the United Nations Climate Summit is a week away, and financial markets are nervous about interest rates. But what's it all mean for ordinary Australians?
Very good question. There's a bunch of things going on. US shares hit a new high last week. The Federal Reserve boss is worried about inflation. The local share market was up last week, though it's still off its peak. Bond markets have sold off. That means that future interest rates are rising. But as you ask, what does this actually mean to ordinary Australians? So let me go through it. Fixed rate loans are on the rise. Last week, ANZ hiked its 3-year fixed rate by 0.35% for home loans, that is. Commonwealth Bank and Westpac also lifted its rates. In fact, Rate City, which is a research group, said 19 lenders have hiked 3-year fixed rate mortgage loans recently. Higher mortgage rates will be a drag on house prices. The best of the house price growth is over. People with conservative investment portfolios, including in their super funds, could suffer because bonds will underperform. So if you have lots of bonds, you won't be doing as well as people with lots of equities. It isn't good news for many retirees who look for safe places to invest their money. Putting your money into a bank account or fixed income product ain't so good at the moment. And all the talk of other countries lifting interest rates and Australia not doing so will put downward pressure on the Aussie dollar. Not what you need now that we can actually go overseas.
No, certainly not. And that actually leads us very nicely into story number 2, which is the latest on the COVID situation. I, for one, am still excited, though, about the reopening of international borders announced late last week. I'm not going anywhere, but it's just nice to know that you can.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that one. Another good weekend for COVID. Victoria is expected to reach 80% full vaccination next weekend, and that means free movement within the state. Premier Daniel Andrews said 90% would be expected on November 24. He wants 80,000 people at the MCG for this year's Boxing Day test between Australia and England. I reckon that is a good way to celebrate the end of COVID for Australia.
All right, on to story number 3, and this is one that could affect anybody that uses any of the buy now, pay later services to buy goods. The Reserve Bank says those companies like Afterpay and Zipco should remove rules that prevent the cost of their services being passed on to consumers.
Yeah, it's really interesting, this one. The payment system generally is pretty good. It provides a good service, costs are coming down. However, it thinks it's time that it moves on the buy now, pay later sector. One of the selling points of buy now, pay later transactions is that the merchant, not the consumer, pays the fee. In fact, Afterpay says its service is free to consumers as long as they make their payments on time. But now the Reserve Bank says the industry needs to lose the no surcharge rule. The Reserve Bank says merchants have told it that buy now, pay later was an essential payment offering, but the high cost of the service was pushing up their payment costs. Afterpay and Zipco will fight this one.
Yeah, they certainly will. We'll be watching that one closely. On to story number 4, and this was a big story coming through late yesterday. The federal, Liberal and National parties have done a deal on climate change, allowing Prime Minister Scott Morrison to head to Glasgow next weekend, able to commit to net zero carbon emissions by 2050.
Yes, a majority of Nationals agreed to a net zero deal yesterday after the Prime Minister made it clear he was committing Australia to the target with or without the junior coalition partner. Fair enough. In return, the Nationals have won a regional economic package, including skills and job creation programs and other support for regional industries, including manufacturing, transport, infrastructure, forestry, fishing and farming. It certainly has been a long time coming. It's been a difficult issue for the coalition for about 20 years. Prime Minister was very upbeat last night, no surprise there, and it probably should help them in the run-up to the next election. The latest news poll said almost half Australians think that we should have a policy on emissions. That's about twice as many as 3 years ago.
All right, on to story number 5, and this story has pretty much everything you need in it. It's got a movie star, it's got a billionaire, and it's got the hot property market all in one.
Sounds a bit like Gilligan's Island, doesn't it? Basically, Australia's second richest person, Andrew Forrest, and his wife, Nicola, have bought Olivia Newton-John's Byron Bay Wellness Retreat for about $30 million, according to media reports. Everyone's happy. It's a Forrest's first foray into accommodation, and good on Olivia Newton-John for making some money out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Good story. All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 25th of October, 2021. Remember to hit follow on the podcast, and if you'd like something a little bit longer, you can find our main podcast called Fear and Greed on your podcast platform, along with a bunch of interviews as well. You can always find more information at fearandgreed.com.au and sign up for our free daily newsletter. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fear and Greed Business Headlines. Have a great day.